Hey everybody, it's Matthew, Mr. Domestic here at the Fat Quarter Shop Studio to introduce all of you to my A to Z soup to nuts English paper piecing tips. So I'm gonna go over how to baste a hexagon, how to stitch two of them together, and how to throw in that third one and go around that Y seam. So let's get our EPP on, folks. The first thing that I do, I have a mid-value wonder fill. And this is where I go. I just do that because I know that's going to be enough. And then I have my thread cutter right here. Look at that, the convenience. And this is what I do. I love a specialty thread because it's thinner. And then I always stitch with a double thread. I started that way. I think whenever I first started, before I got like a more fluid hand with doing it, I would break thread a lot. Now it's just my preference because I know that that thread won't break. And then this is how I thread my needle. So I use this, and I'm essentially using the needle to create a point. And then I thread it through to where the loop is through the needle. So essentially I threaded that loop through the needle, and then I'm gonna bring that loop over, boom, and pull it, right? And now it's not going anywhere. So now I can't. If you prefer to just use a single thread, you can do that same technique at the end of the thread instead of the center. So now that this is ready, it's time to prepare the shapes. I have one hexagon already basted, one already cut. I will show you how I cut one right here. And I eyeball it for the most part, but I'm gonna show you what I do here. You can either use a 1/4 inch seam allowance or you can use a 3/8 seam allowance. I prefer a 1/4 inch, so that's what I'm going to cut. And I'm just using this 1/4 inch guide right here. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I know some of y'all like perfect, so I'm gonna show you that. So, right here. Then this is where a rotating mat would be perfect. And I know Fat Quarter Shop has some of those. So, right here, one more, boom, and then one more. Let's do it right here. So now I have this all prepped right here. And then I have an order that I baste my hexagons. I glue baste. I find it to be more durable and long-lasting through the entire process of English paper piecing. And one tip with these Soline glue pens is I keep them in the refrigerator, and also the glue refills in the refrigerator because it hardens it enough and you're able to get a thinner line when you use it, so it lasts longer. So I'm going to baste onto the paper. I don't baste onto the edge because I want to create that pocket for the fabric that makes it a lot easier to sew. So as you can see, I went in about 1/8 of an inch. I'll still be able to catch it with that 1/4 inch seam allowance. And with hexagons, I go in alternating pattern. So I'll do 3 like this. And then I'll do the other 3. And I find this just gives you a more crisp points, and it makes it easier to stitch them all together. Right here, so this is one. Boodamus, 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 boodamus. And now I'm going to baste this one without speaking, just so you can watch the process. Boom! Look at those beautiful hexagons. So now we're ready to get our stitch on. So now I'm going to stitch two together. And you're going to place them right sides together, lining them up. And this is another thing that might be a little different than to start a stitch by hand. I don't knot the end of the thread. I will start the stitch. It's right there on the corner. I went through both of them, trying not to catch the paper. And I get to the end, and then I secure it with a double knot. Right here. That's once. I'm just going like this. There. I found that this won't slip, and occasionally I would pull the knot through if I ended the thread with a knot, so this is a more secure way that I've discovered. Then now I'm going to whip stitch. If this is new to you, it's like the spiral of a notebook. Essentially, you're going to go the same direction entering, the same direction exiting. I like my stitches to be roughly 3 to 5 millimeters in distance. And here, like this. There's 1, 2. See how it's going in? It's going in this way, going out this way. This is the direction that I have found works for me. I've known other EPPers to stitch away from themselves. Try them all if you're new to this and discover the way that works. So I'm going to continue right here. And once you get started trying, you can feel, like when you put that needle in there, you can feel when it's hitting the paper. And you can feel when it just catches the fabric. If you accidentally get the paper, no big deal. It's close enough to the edge where it's going to micro perforate it, and when you remove the papers, it comes out, no problem. So continue. Getting to the end, this is the final stitch. Get right there in the corner. Right here. And then I'm going to tie a knot. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm doing another stitch. And this is like a ninja action figure 8. See the loop like this? I'm going to turn it like that. Let me show you one more time. Go like this. Then I turn it, and then I'm going to grab the needle and pull it through. And it secures it with a knot. I'll cut it with my thread cutter. And boom! Look at that. Look at that. Try to clock my stitches. Those are some good whip stitches. Yes. So now I'm going to add the next one. This is a part where people get confused and they're like, how do I do it? I don't understand. It's like impossible. It's hard with paper, but that's what makes it easier and more precise even than using a sewing machine. You're going to start the same way. So right sides together. Grab my Milliner needle, my wonder fill on it. I'm going to start. Did that. Get to the end, and I'm going to double knot again. Just so you can see what I'm doing. I'm sticking the needle towards myself under the thread. It's almost like I'm wrapping it around, and then I pull it out. So it's kind of like that figure 8 ninja move I did before. It's just in the beginning. So yeah, that knot's not going anywhere. So now I'm going to whip stitch to the end where that intersection is, and I'll just do it so you can see it for a little bit. Okay, so 2 more stitches and I'll be to that intersection. So I'm going to catch those right there on the corner. Boom. Make that go through. Do that one more time. I do this at every intersection. It secures the previous threads as I manipulate it. So see, how about like this? And I'm going to figure 8 it. Let me do it again. See? Figure 8 it. Then grab that needle, pull it through, and there's a secure knot. But how do I do it? It's hard. I don't get it. This is what you do. You bend the paper. Boom. So you just bend the paper to your liking. And this is why I really like glue basting, because the paper's not going to pop out. It's not going anywhere. So now that those are right sides together, I'm just going to continue up the next one. 1, 2. Just so you can see, and if it's new to you, which it probably is for most of you, okay, let's say I'm trying to put it in right here. I feel it. It's hard. I'm not going to force press it in there, but I know that I've caught paper. So I'm just going to lift it up, and it's right on the lip, right there. And you're able to feel the difference. This is why it's super important to glue baste not right on the edge of the paper, because that creates that pocket of fabric that you can maneuver to get the needle through. Like that. So it's right on the edge. And I'll turn it this way so you can see. See? See? It's just barely in there. Probably catching 3 or 4 of the weft or warp threads each time, just enough to secure the thread. This. Then one more. Then now I'm going to secure that end. There's a loop, ninja, boom, pull, boom, and then I'll cut it with my thread cutter ring like this. And then check this out, folks. Boom. Boom. Gorgeous. The final thing I just want to show, because I do get this question a lot also, is how do you remove the papers? If you just use that thin line of glue and you followed all of my tips, it should just come off. No problem. And if you stitched on the fabric and not the paper, you'll be able to use these again. Boom. Just remove it. If by chance you got a gloopy little dab of glue on there, I have used a steam iron, and I'll press it on there on the back, and it would soften it enough to where it can just be removed. So now, look at, ooh, 1, 2, 3. Like this. Right here. And then the final thing, if I was going to use this, I would fold these over, get a nice press on it, and then applique it onto something really cute. And now I have shared with you my soup to nuts A to Z, starting with basting, ending with removing the papers, to get you started on your journey with English paper piecing. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the Fat Quarter Shop YouTube channel, like this video, maybe in the comments tell us the things you want to make with English paper piecing, the ideas that you have, and then head over to the Mr. Domestic YouTube channel and subscribe there as well. So keep it positive, y'all. Mr. Domestic out.